All right, well, I guess it's time to do another video on the Bitcoin miners and on Bitcoin because they have been rolling over during the last couple of weeks or so, and it looks like it is presenting a pretty decent buying opportunity, not only for a short-term bounce, but also a long-term accumulation point, especially in the Bitcoin miners. If you are bullish on the price of Bitcoin and you think it's going to go to 100K or beyond, this is a pretty decent area to be accumulating some of your favorite mining stocks because they are trading at a substantial discount to where they were just a couple of weeks ago. And we can't talk about the miners without talking about Bitcoin first. And right here I have the daily chart of Bitcoin. And the last time I talked about Bitcoin, it was right about here. I drew these two lines on here because I thought price after this rollover that it had was probably going to wedge up like this, and then we were going to have a continuation move down. It didn't exactly play out like that. Probably should have drawn it like this in hindsight. All it did was roll over, and then it made a little bit of a consolidation right here, and then it continued lower. And you can see it had one of these climax sell moves. One of these days I'm going to catch these big acceleration moves to the downside in Bitcoin or one of these other cryptocurrencies. It seems like they happen from time to time, and if you have the courage to jump in when these things are really starting to accelerate to the downside, you get rewarded an hour or two or three later, because they usually have a pretty sharp bounce back up. And if I do get lucky enough to be watching this when it's happening, it usually does it for about a couple of minutes or so. But if I am lucky enough to see that, I'm probably not going to worry about trying to catch the absolute bottom. I'm just going to be buying in increments on the way down, and hopefully I'll make 2 or 3 or 4 buys, and then once you get that eventual bounce up, I'll be able to claim that quick profit. Yeah, it's pretty easy in hindsight to look at the chart, but that's what I'm going to try to do. But anyway, we can see the price of Bitcoin had that huge move down, and now it's starting to stabilize and consolidate at a little bit of a higher level. And when Bitcoin and some of the other cryptocurrencies do this, it's usually found a bottom in the short to medium term, and usually it will drift up for a little bit. I would expect it to drift up into this resistance area and then probably pull back a little bit, and that should be a halfway decent move, not only in Bitcoin but also for the Bitcoin miners. I mean, eventually I would expect it to push back through and make a new high. After it breaks through this resistance area, I would expect a little bit of a pullback once it got to this area right around 60,000, and then eventually make that move to a new all-time high. But if we take a look at some of the other cryptocurrencies, let's take a look at Ethereum. We can see Ethereum made a little bit more of what I was thinking the last time I did that video, but we can see Ethereum has made a consolidation as well. This one is a little bit wider than the one on Bitcoin, but you can see after that reactionary move down, it's already back up into that consolidation area. So Ethereum is a little bit stronger than Bitcoin right now. And if we take a look at some of the other ones, let's take a look at Chainlink. We can see some of these ones are not bouncing very much at all. Like Chainlink is pulling all the way back down to this support area right around 16.5. So if you want to be accumulating Polkadot, if you like Polkadot, this is a pretty decent area to be accumulating. You can see we definitely had the acceleration move down. Haven't had much of a bounce just yet. I don't know if we're going to get it, but if you are bullish on Polkadot, seems like a pretty decent area to be accumulating. It's for the best price in several months at least anyway. Next one I want to take a look at is Polkadot. You can see Polkadot looks very similar to Chainlink, getting right down here to this support area right around 25.5. So you notice that a lot of these are pulling back right into support areas. This is another reason why I think we're probably going to get a bounce up from here. It seems like they're all just running right into decent support areas. Next one I want to talk about is Solana. You can see Solana is a lot like Ethereum. This is one of the stronger of the cryptos out there. So I think if the cryptos do turn around and make a new all-time high, probably Solana is going to be one of the first ones to do it. I would expect Solana or Ethereum, judging on this chart anyway. So Solana definitely one of the stronger ones out there. Next one I want to talk about is Cardano. This one I've actually been looking into, and I'm actually pretty bullish on this one for the long term. So this one looks like a pretty nice buy point, because I missed this move up here, and now it's right back down to where it was back in June and July. So nice little entry area for Cardano if you were patient enough to wait for it. And then of course we can't move on without talking about Shibi. If we look at Shibi coin, we can see this one has pulled all the way back to that area that I had drawn on the chart. It had a buy area in here, it seems like forever, and I removed it about a couple of weeks ago. Maybe not even that long, maybe a week ago. It looks like it came down to that support area right around 3 and had a little bit of a bounce. I was expecting like this sharp move to pull down into this bounce and then, or down into this support area, and then it was going to get a nice bounce up to maybe 4.5 or so, but that did not happen. That's when I removed the order. It came down, hit that support area, and it's not getting a whole heck of a lot of a bounce, at least not yet. So from a technical perspective, like I was saying, a lot of these things are pulling right back into support areas. So this seems like a good a time as ever to buy some of these cryptos if that's what you want to do. All right, so let's get into these Bitcoin mining stocks. I'm going to start off with my favorite one first. That is Mara, and the rest are going to be in no particular order because I think that they're all looking pretty decent right about now. But before I get into that, please remember, I'm not a financial advisor. All this is just my opinion. I'm just trying to show you the best looking charts that I see in the market right now. Please make all of your own trading decisions. That being said, I do have a Patreon and a small trading group. If you'd like to join that, it is only $9.99 a month, and the link is down there in the description. And also, if you don't mind liking the smash button, that helps out the YouTube, or it helps out the YouTube channel with the YouTube algorithm. But let's get into Mara. We can see that Mara is having a nice bounce off the 200 period simple moving average. The last 2 times it did that, you had a pretty decent up move. You can see that Mara is still in a long-term uptrend. Of course, it got a little ahead of itself over the last, between October and November, so you knew a pullback was inevitable, and this one has had a massive haircut. I mean, this pullback has been over 55% from peak to trough, but we can see it had this sharp move down, had a little bit of a consolidation, then we had the continuation follow through. Now it looks like we are ripe to potentially complete this downtrend and at least have a short-term bounce up. And you can see Mara is having a nice reversal candle off of that 200 period simple moving average. Let me get this thing out of here real quick. I've heard this referred to as the gap and snap. Once you have several days in a row down and then they gap it down and then it reverses, it ends in the range of the previous day's long red candle, they call that a gap and snap. So the selling starts to accelerate, they gap it down one more time to shake out the weak hands. Once you get them out of the way, then they can run the stock the other way, and that's what it looks like it's going to do. Usually when this pattern happens, you get follow through for at least one more day. Typically, sometimes you get, 2 or 3 or more, but that's what I would expect, at least one more follow through day up here to the 200 or to the 8 period exponential moving average, that white line. And we also have this resistance area right here. So this might be a little tough to get through, but that's all the way up around $48 a share. So that's going to be a pretty nice up move if it continues to follow through. This is the one that I'm probably going to take a position in before the day ends. Let's get into the next one, and that is going to be Bitfarms. You can see Bitfarms is having a nice reversal off of the support area right around, I don't know, call it $5.35 to about $5.45. We can see it's also having a bullish reversal candle. It hasn't bounced as much as Mara, but one of the reasons why I'm probably not going to take a position in Bitfarms is because of this 50 period simple moving average is just above it. I'm not saying it can't get through that, but I like to, when I jump into one of these swing trade positions, I like to have as little resistance right above the point at which I'm buying as possible. But I do think Bitfarms is certainly due for a bounce. You can see this thing has pulled back about 43%, so a big pullback in Bitfarms. Definitely due for a bounce. Next one is RIOT Blockchain. You can see RIOT is also coming down to this support area right here. So RIOT and Mara were looking just about the same as far as how far it could move to the upside. We got the 50 period simple moving average at about 31.5. So that's a pretty decent move where it's at right now. So RIOT could have some continuation to the upside as well. Another one that I like is Hut 8 Mining. Hut 8 Mining just barely didn't make it down to that 200 period simple moving average. There was a lot of support right there. You can see that there's some support over here also coinciding with that 200. This is the one that I was a little bit more focused on. I actually Had an order to buy some of this at $7.67. Of course, it never came down. It never came down that far and hit it, unfortunately. Man, that would have been a great buy. I was going to put an order in for Mara as well at the 200, but I decided to just go with Hut Mining, and this one did not get executed. But you can see the next area of resistance is this white line, the 8-period exponential moving average, and that is all the way up around $11 a share. So I mean, Hut 8 Mining could have a long way to run to the upside if they do get some follow through tomorrow. And last but not least is one that I own some shares in, and that is CleanSpark. You can see CleanSpark having that nice gap and snap reversal candle as well, and the 8-period exponential moving average is all the way up here right around $15.80 or so. I mean, obviously tomorrow these lines are going to come down just a little bit, but still a long way to run to the upside for these miners. All right, so let's get into my trading activity for the day. I actually made two round-trip trades today. One was a winner and one was a loser. We'll start off with the loser first, and that was on ACET. Now, what I'm trying to do is buy the breakout of the first 15 minutes of the day. Once a stock is gapping up like this, let me go to the 5-minute chart, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. If this is your first time watching one of these type of trades that I like to make every single day, if they set up. Basically, it looks kind of like this. I wait for the stock to gap up. So we got like a gap up move right here. We got a green candle, and then I'm waiting for it to form like a bullish pennant formation, something like this. And then I want the 8-period exponential moving average to support price and then send it up for another breakout. And what I like to do is buy on the breakout of the high, once it breaks the high of the first 15 minutes, and just try to scalp, between 3, 4, 5, 6%, depending on the chart. That's a little bit subjective, and this is the part that I try to trade. Now, what I do is I place my stop below the 8-period exponential moving average on whichever time frame it is supporting price. So when you see price come down to that moving average and then starts following it up for that breakout, that is the moving average that it is, that's the time frame that price is following right now. So on this chart, it happened to be on the 5-minute chart. Sometimes it happens on the 2-minute chart. Sometimes it happens on the 3-minute chart. If you ever see a stock that is making this formation, just kind of flip down through those time frames, find out which one of those time frames where the 8-period exponential moving average is supporting price. And for me, that's a pretty decent area to put my stop loss. Now, I had a profit target of $14.79. It stopped me in at $3.87. It made it to as high as $14.45 the next bar, but then it pulled back and eventually it stopped me out at $13.62. So it wasn't a very big loss, but unfortunately it just missed my profit target, turned into a loss. If I would have held on to it for a little bit longer, I could easily have gotten out because I had a nice push up over 1550 just about an hour or so later. But this is the pattern that I like to trade, so I got to kind of stick to those rules. Unfortunately, this one did not work out, but let's get to the other one. And the other one that I took was a little bit subjective. Let's go back to the daily. Jump over to the QQQ. Once I saw the QQQ rallying, I took an option trade. Let's go back to the 5-minute chart so I can show you how I did it. All right, this was how the day was shaping up, and I saw that price was starting to push up and challenge this resistance area right around 384. So I actually bought the 386 call that was expiring today at 56 cents at 12:30. So let's go to 12:30. Actually, on this candle right here, I kind of anticipated the breakout because it looked like since the market was so extended to the downside, we were probably going to get a halfway decent rally, and I ended up selling those at $1.69 at $2 or at 210. So 210 was, let me just find out which one 210 is. 210 is actually right here. So right about there is where I sold it. So I got kind of lucky. It just looked like the market was starting to, it looked like it was starting to run out of steam a little bit. And since the options were expiring today, one little pullback is probably going to dissipate the value in those options. So that's why I decided to take it when price was, I believe price was like just below 387. So it looks like it ran up just a little bit higher before it ended up pulling back a little bit. Not sure where those options ended up for the day, but they were still ended up higher than where I bought them. So that more than made up for the loss that I had on ACET. And that was my trading activity for the day. Okay, everyone, that is all I have for this video, so I'm going to end it right there. But if you have any questions or comments on any of these stocks, or if you have any other ones you want me to take a look at, please leave it down there in the comments section. I will get to them as soon as I can. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching my video all the way to the end, and until next time, take care, everybody.